Makes a lot of sense. I actually kind of want to touch on a couple of those like modifications you have on the guitar. So I did a little. I think I'd read about it or I listened to so many interviews you were on or like talked like things where you were talking just to get like some information. But you have like banjo tuner pegs, which I think's pretty cool. And I played banjo for a couple of years, but I'm assuming that's just so you can get that you can tune up and down really quick, right? Like it.
Yeah, that's the whole idea. I mean, it's like I have my guitar here with me just in case, just to show. So this is how my headstock looks like, and it's super weird. It's my Frankenstein guitar. We can talk about it a bit later. But just to quickly touch the question. So this are the banjo tuners, and they look like this. They kind of face towards this direction instead of the guitar tuning peg direction like this. So it like serves many purposes that's not possible to do with normal guitar tuning pegs. So for example, with normal guitar tuning pegs, you tune like that, which is really hard to do on the fly, right? Because you have to like put all your hands all the way here or here, which is super uncomfortable. But for banjo tuning pegs, everything is really grabbable. It's really comfortable to do. And on top of that, yeah, you have the two screws here that set the note within two-note interval. So at first, of course, I need to find the first note. It's not fully automated. I need to find it, then I need to screw it, then I need to go back to the lower note, I need to screw it again, and eventually I have...
Okay.
It's a bit out of tune now, but anyways. So yeah, and then of course the system is not perfect. You need to fine tune it here and there, and but it's already opens up so many possibilities, like tuning all these harmonics and things.
Do you want to try maybe some of the lower strings? I feel like your camera might not be picking up the higher strings. Anyways, sorry.
You mean the what do you mean the audio?
Yeah, the audio is not picking up. I think the higher frequency.
Probably there's a noise gate. Yeah, of course. So for example, let me just set it. So yeah, that's well. I mean, it's not that musically exciting because it's just a super low.
Yeah, so I think I think the camera, you said there's a sound gate. I think it's not picking up those sounds. It's okay.
But anyways, it's on my phone anyways. It's on my phone. So actually it might be better there because that would be again.
Oh, okay, perfect. No yes, cool. Go ahead, continue.
But can you just imagine that it goes... I'm just gonna be imitating that with my voice then. So yeah, so that's the whole thing. It's just literally that's everything what you do. But again, then you gotta be creative with that. It's just tuning pegs, and then it requires to write music about it, around using these techniques. For example, using this bendy harmonics or anything else you can come up with, and tapping. Anything you can come up with. There's a lot of context, and I first saw John Gom doing that, and then I found out that there was other guitar guys who started doing that way before John, like Nick Harper and Adrian Legg, also the great UK guitar player from the UK. And before that, it was all this plethora of banjo players like Earl Scruggs and Bill Keith and the guys who actually invented these pegs in like late 60s. So it's a really great and long history behind this system, but in the guitar world, it's not so common, it's not so well known yet. That's why it always strikes the eye and the ear. Everybody thinks you do it by ear, you're doing these crazy things, you have a perfect pitch or whatever, but in fact it's super easy. But again, you gotta find a way how to do it musically, because otherwise it's just gonna be and what to do with that? You can just do it with a fret, right? So you really gotta find the good musical context. But I've been using these techniques for so many years, so at some point I was thinking, and this is like kind of going back to why Frankenstein guitar is so unique, that I was thinking, okay, well, we have 6 tuning pegs here, and I can change the tuning of 6 strings here, like within 1 step or half step or whatever I can choose. But then, okay, why I cannot do it here on the bridge side? And then we did the same thing on a bridge, and then then I found another system that I can put on the headstock, so I can change the tuning on the headstock as well. So now I have 3 notes or 4 notes per string that I can change, and which is like crazy. Nobody has done it before, and of course this is the guitars were not made for this. It's like it takes a lot of time to fine tune everything and to prepare the guitar for the song that you're gonna play. But to me, it's all worth it because it's just the excitement of adventure, of this exploration of what the guitar can do, but at the same time you still want to make it musical. So eventually when somebody listens to that, it's not about the technique, it's not about constantly thinking, that's how he's doing that, it's crazy. I mean, of course, when you see that visually, I guess it adds some flair to it, but I'm trying to write music around it, not the technique.
Right. I showed last week I was talking to my brother, just saying, "Oh, I'm interviewing this guy named Alex Misko," and he didn't know who you were. And then I showed you a video, showed a video of you doing it where you're like messing around with the tuning pegs and the what are they called? I wrote them down. The Tamara
String drops.
Tamara string
and
drop.
he
Yeah,
was
exactly.
just-
Those things, the levers on the headstock. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, he was just kind of mind blown with the different like sounds you were getting out of the guitar. Yeah, it's crazy, man. And like the fact that you're kind of innovating that. And yeah, how did those come about? The Tamara string drops. Like talk about that a little bit.
It's like let me just quickly show you. So it's these guys on the headstock. They look like 6 capos, but they're not. It's actual levers. So and the idea is very simple. It's even simpler than banjo pegs because banjo pegs have this two note interval and the pretty complicated how it's called not the sun. I think it's sun kind of sun based cogs mechanism inside. So it's pretty complicated. They're pretty expensive. It's almost like clock and not like a watches basically. And but for Tamara string drops, it's just a lever that pushes the string here, the headstock. Obviously, well, all the strings. And it's nothing much. But if you add it to your banjo tuning peg, now you have 3 notes. So you go. And you already have 3 notes, which is super exciting. And of course, you can do it with harmonics, with open strings, with bass notes. Doesn't matter. You can already play the whole progression just by tuning the thing. But of course, you need to set everything beforehand. Not that easy. It looks easy when everything is presetted already. But at first, you need to find that right note. You need to fine tune it here. Then you need to push it around and like play around for a little bit just to see if it stays in tune, because I mean the system is not perfect. So and how I found it, I just spent too much time on the internet. Sometimes you really gotta just look for weird things that nobody needs. And it's like, because really this is such a niche thing, is that originally it's just one guy who produces them in America. He's been doing that for many years, and most of the time I saw his clients are Telecaster players who just use it for drop D. It's a drop D mechanism basically. So you just do the quick drop D flip and you play, and then you press it back and then you play in standard. But I was thinking, okay, let's put them on the 6 strings, on all the 6 strings, and see what we can do with like melodies and stuff. And now basically we just use them for my signature guitar as well. And it's like it's exciting, to find some builders like that, like creators of these mechanisms, and then to bring all these ideas into the world that they have never been existing before. Like it was more like electric guitar thing, drop D thing, but now it's more like an acoustic guitar thing, but in a melodic way. So we offer them for top 2 strings. It's not a drop D thing at all. Why we need drop D? We need melodies with them. So it's like so this is exciting. But yeah, I was just googling things. Looking for tuning mechanisms or whatever, and I accidentally found them. And just sometimes it happens. I mean, you need to explore things. You need to be curious.
Right, and then you got the fan frets as well across the Frankenstein and your signature guitar, I saw, right?
So actually, I wanted to say that my Frankenstein guitar, I mean the one that I have, my left-handed model, it's now not here, not at my place, because we were shooting some videos in Sweden, and now I got back to Germany, so it still flies back. So I just have my Frankenstein, and so fan frets, it's like also very striking. Like everybody loves fan frets, everybody asks about them, if it's an illusion or not. Especially on this guitar, it's pretty extreme fan frets, almost like it's almost like a chant guitar, or like kind of half baritone because of the fan frets, because the scale length is noticeably longer than on a regular guitar. But I believe that it really helps with intonation, especially in super low tunings. I mean, that's why in gent world, in metal world, it's really common to have the 7-8 string guitars all fan fretted in this low F tunings. And I also pretty much play in the similar tunings. I have like A sharp now here on my lowest string. My tunings are super low, but for different reasons, because I don't want to break strings while I'm doing all these crazy tunings. So it's like that's why the lower you tune, the longer your strings would last, especially with this like crazy 4-note per string tunings. And and then I realized that okay, it helps with intonation low tunings. It's easy to play, because I mean this is something that people don't mention enough. I think that actually they follow your wrist motion really smoothly when you go up the neck. Might not be exactly good here, but how often you play F major bar chord? That's the question. How often you play that in fingerstyle? Like, I guess I never played this type of shapes. And of course, it's, even a classical position is pretty easy to play, unless if you're playing in this kind of, way when your headstock goes down. But this is like, well, probably people who play like that, they wouldn't be interested in fan fretted guitar. And the third thing, of course, it looks cool. It's like, I think it's such a cool selling factor, especially because there's no affordable acoustic fan fretted guitars in this price range that we offer for my signature guitar. That was also one of the ideas, because normally if you want a fan fretted acoustic guitar or like anything more crazy like this, then of course you probably would want to go to a luthier and to get yourself a handmade unique instrument, but there is no way to make a business out of it. So the whole idea was to make something affordable and something that would be based on this model. But it's like, of course, this is a different topic. I'm probably touching it too early now.
Yeah, no, that's okay. I do want to, I'll touch on that right away. I just wanted to mention, it's funny, I was so curious. I was watching some of your videos. I'm like, how many strings does this guy go through? But now it makes sense that you tune down quite a bit to eliminate that
kind of factor.
Actually, that's a good question, because it's like, normally if for example I don't have concerts to play, and because this is also an electric guitar. It's basically an electric guitar. There's so many things on top of it, and inside, and all these pickups and electronics inside. There's like seven signals. It's also super interesting. There's 7 channels coming out of it, so it's pretty complicated. And basically, it's an electric guitar. It's the guitar made for playing on stage. That's how better word it. It still sounds more or less good acoustically, but it was never a goal to build a good acoustic sounding guitar, because there's always a compromise. The more weird things, the more innovative things you want to put on it, the less traditional it gets, and also in terms of the sound. So, well, you got to decide what's more important. And the thing is that if I don't play any concerts, if I just practice at home, I'm just basically would be playing the strings until they break. And normally just, 2 or even 3 weeks sometimes. I mean, I don't play like for 6 hours every day. I mean, sometimes I can just play for half an hour. But in general, it's not the crazy big problem. It's not like, oh, I'm going to be practicing now and in 2 hours something's going to snap. No, that's the thing. And if I really don't want anything to snap, I'm going to tune like even half step lower or something like that. So my standard tuning now is actually standard, but 2 steps lower. So starting from C. So C, F, whatever. And if I need my standard tuning, my real standard tuning, if I want to jam with other musicians, for example, or if I want to play a song in the real standard tuning, I just put a capo, and that's it. It just really eliminates so many problems. And also, of course, it's easier to play because your frets are smaller when you go up the neck, so it's easier to fret them as well. The tension is also lighter, so it's easier to fret them. It's like, it feels like a great solution for almost everything.
That makes a lot of sense. And I know for myself, like my acoustic, I always have it in a half step down, like E flat. I don't know why. Like when I go back to like in standard E tuning, I find the strings, I don't like the way they ring out. I find there's something nice about having just a little bit looser. So I've never tried like that low. So I'd have to see what it sounds like. Cause I have to do the same thing a lot of the times. I have to capo at the first fret, just to get back to whoever I'm playing with this. But I do really want to get into your signature guitar that you've kind of released. I'm kind of impressed. You're not that you're a young guy. But you are. You're not even 30 yet, and you're a musician who has its own signature guitar. You have all these kind of income streams set up for yourself, and it's very impressive to see. And it's clear, it's evidence of your hard work and persistence in this kind of this area, like in the music industry. So good on you for that. But yeah, like what goes into building out a custom guitar like that, and like how long does the process take?
Well, at first, yeah, thank you for your kind words. I'm really trying. It's like that. The problem is my mind is really not business oriented. I mean, I think Mike Dawes is actually a much better businessman than me, because I mean, I'm always more excited into putting weird things that nobody needs and just spending hours around them. And I know that it's not really convertible into anything, and I'm not going to convert it into money. I would, if I would be more effective of a businessman, I would much rather record 3 video courses, or do something that I can sell as a passive income, whatever. But it's just so hard for me to force myself to do it. And I'm not really forcing myself, but between being creative and doing business, I will always choose being creative. That's why I cannot even say that I'm like a good businessman. I'm just, I have to, because as a solo musician primarily, even though I have my manager, even though I have booking agents, there's still so much work that's based around your things. That's something that you have to do, something that probably nobody else would be able to do better than you, also because you like probably you have some kind of a OCD thing, and you want to make everything perfect, and that's why I edit all my videos. I most of the time record my music by myself and everything. So also of course working on emails and stuff like that. So it's just there was a lot of work, a lot of non-musical work. It's like you don't really practice that much of a guitar. You most of the time you just post videos. So like whatever you work on social media, that takes so much more time than actual practicing. So that's why I'm saying just well you have to take care of that, even if you don't like it, because well otherwise nobody would be doing that for you unless if you have the whole team behind my back. But I'm not a big superstar to actually well afford it, or to have some people who would care about it that much. So I have to do well things by myself. But actually about the signature guitar, I'm just really lucky to work with this really nice German company. They're called Baton Rouge, and not to mix them up with Baton Rouge in Louisiana. Some people ask me if it's connected, but it's a different thing. So the logo looks like that. I'm just showing to my phone and showing here. So this is just BR. It's Baton Rouge, and great German company. I've been playing their guitars since like 2017, I think, and then I switched to another company because well I wasn't. I didn't have enough from the craziness of what Baton Rouge could offer at that point. And then at some point we decided to get back together and to have this simple idea. So let's see if they can help me make the dream guitar. And then if everything goes well with that, if I'm happy with that, then we will try to build a signature guitar based on that one. And I will be working with the company. If not, then I guess I would go somewhere else to find some crazy luthier who would be able to build something crazy for me. So yeah, but I'm really thankful and happy that everything worked out, and our bonds with the company got really close, and we managed to build this Frankenstein guitar. And if you like scroll back, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 years when I just got this guitar, it looked so much more different, because this is like, it's never ending work in progress. At first the whole idea was just to have this bridge and the headstock thing, and I also wasn't showing you the bridge. So this is the bridge where I can also change the interval that I choose. And yeah, so that was the whole idea. But then afterwards I realized, okay, I found this drum add-ons and pickup systems and this Timara things and the headstock. So it keeps evolving, and I don't know where it's gonna come to in a couple of years. Probably it's gonna stop looking the guitar like a guitar completely. But the whole idea afterwards was how we can take this guitar that's obviously very complicated. It's really hard to play. It's like it's a monster that you gotta tame. It's not that you just instantly sit and start playing. No, you gotta spend 20 minutes fine-tuning everything, and not everybody is ready for that. And on top of that, it doesn't sound good acoustically. It doesn't sound like something which you would expect acoustically. So you really have to keep in mind that this is not just the guitar, it's also the pedal board, it's also your pickups. So it's a very complicated system. And it's obviously, only I need it to this extent, because it's all tailored to my taste and to my vision. And people have different visions. It's totally fine. And I don't want people to play the same exact instruments, to do the same exact music. I want to do them something different and something better than that. And that's why there was the whole idea that we wanted to take this guitar and to keep the most striking things about it, but still to make it affordable and playable and also clean and nice looking and everything. So that's why we really had to keep the fan frets. That was really one of the big things about it. And some of the detuning systems that we offer, just 2 banjo pegs and just 2 Timaras, but they are also not necessary. They go as additional options. But if you just take the naked guitar with the same with the same wood combination as this guitar has, so spruce top, what's that? It's rosewood and walnut. It's a three wood combination, which is really fancy, because I was thinking, well, why not? Actually, this is really something interesting about the wood thing that we can also cover. That I don't think anybody in a real blind experiment would be able to find the difference in terms of if it's the real wood or if it's laminated or whatever. It's all like, the whole guitar world is like, I think it's so oversaturated with this whole idea that we need to have discussions about things, that we don't do music, but we just discuss things. Let's discuss which top is better. Let's discuss which pickup is better. Let's discuss that I want this guitar but not this guitar. And instead of making music, and I think this is like something that's getting lost so much. Especially I used to get lost in that as well when I was setting up my pedal board, because the choice is so big. And at some point, I think you just spend more time turning the knobs instead of creating music. But eventually, your audience on stage will never be able to even find the difference between your Boss RV5 reverb and Strymon Big Sky, even though for you it would be like, oh wow, it's like such a big difference, like I want to play my Strymon. No offense to Boss, I love Boss, but I mean Strymon is better. And but eventually, would your listener care about it if your music is bad, or if your technique is not precise, or whatever? I mean, it's like such things that people get lost in details. That's why I was just thinking, okay, it's fancy to have 3-wood combination, because back and sides actually, I don't know, they create 10% of the whole general sound. So we just were looking for the top, spruce top. It's not only traditional fingerstyle thing, like acoustic guitar thing, because it's considered to be bright. But again, if somebody does the blind experiment, even with cedar, which is kind of dark, and spruce, which is kind of like bright, and it would be really interesting how many people out of 100 would be able to guess it right. If you just create a blind experiment, you would give these people 5 random guitars of cedar, 5 random guitars of spruce, and also laminated and not laminated, and how many of them would be able to really find the difference and would give the result that would be a bit better than just random guessing. I think I don't know. Something tells me that it would be really harder than it seems. Because if I know that spruce is better, I will hear that it's better. I know that I will hear it because I already persuaded myself to think this way. It's all in the head already. But anyway, so I'm just saying, so that was just the whole idea that, okay, let's just have triple wood combination because it's really fancy. Nobody did it before, even for this guitar. And the top is spruce because it's also made for drumming, for all this like crazy things and scratching and stuff. And you really want to make sure that guitar would last for longer than for half a year, because that's the difference between spruce and cedar. The spruce is actually easier to break, and the pieces of wood would be flying off if you were doing things like that. So that was the whole idea too. And of course, like some simpler but effective pickup system, some detuning systems, as I said, and eventually we created a guitar that costs around 1,300 euro. So in dollars, it would be around the same price, anyways. So yes, it's not exactly super affordable level. It's not 300 euro guitar, but at some point there was also not about just the features, but also about the quality, because if you go with a lower price, the quality might be compromised, and then some people would be really noticing things that, something is uneven, or the neck goes bendy after a couple of months or whatever. And we really didn't want that, because to me, just very important that even though it's not the same guitar, we've been really honest about it from the very beginning. It's not the same guitar, but it's a guitar based on my actual guitar that is actually playable and affordable. And also on top of that, I play that guitar myself. I have videos with that guitar, I have it at home. And even though it's not my primary instrument for obvious reasons, it doesn't have all these crazy systems, but it has my name on it, and it implies that this is my like a guarantee signature. And that was very important. That's why it took us almost like 4 or 5 years to actually create that guitar. Not only because of the COVID and Russian-Ukrainian war, which is like totally separate thing, but also just simply because I wanted to make sure that I would be proud and not ashamed, that something is released and I know that it's not quite good enough, and I would have to lie about it, or I would have to pretend that it's the best guitar in the world, but at the same time it would be just it would not be the best. I mean, of course, it's best or not the best is relative things, especially in art, but I think we did our best, and I'm proud of it, and I'm really happy to see that, when people send me videos of them playing this guitar, and the whole idea is just to give them a nice vehicle for the start, and then afterwards they can, of course, install all these additional things, install additional pickups, do anything with it, and as I said, create something that might be loosely based on what I've been doing, but better and different. Doesn't have to be the same. It's better if it's different and better than what I do.
Yeah, 100%. Especially like you said, you have it behind. It's your name on it. You want to bring this quality product to your followers, people who know you, follow you, support you over the years. You want to make sure that they're getting a nice piece of equipment that they can have for a long time. Like you said, the neck doesn't warp, all that stuff. And I think for the price range, that's kind of that. It's a solid price range in terms of it's like in that it's not entry level. It's like in that middle section, So I feel like people who start playing guitar always get like a couple $100 guitar, and then once they've kind of gone through all those the learning curves at the start, then they can kind of they can justify buying themselves something a little more expensive like that, and I don't think it's over. Like I looked at the price and I was kind of actually surprised where it's at. But is there an option where you can get 6 banjo tuner pegs, or is it usually it's just the 2? I saw you had 2 on the
two low notes and then the two high note ones.
Yeah, I think actually we offer them only for two top notes, so for the melody strings, for the trebles. And the thing is that I think theoretically you can just order it directly, for example, through Thomann, which is one of the biggest stores in Europe. And the thing is that afterwards they still have to order the guitar directly from Baton Rouge. So it means that theoretically, if you're ready to pay for 6 banjo tuning packs, because it's going to be really expensive. It's just like just one pack costs like around 120 euro, I think. So it's really, really expensive. So the whole pack would be almost 800, and or like 700 to 800. So it's almost like it's almost like the whole guitar. It's almost like the naked guitar, but just this tuning mechanisms. And of course, it's like we were thinking that for dedicated people, it's still easier to get them through us, because like at least we covered the customs and all this thing that all this shipping from America, which also would be doubling, not really doubling the price, but I think if they would be costing 800, you would have to pay 1,200 or something like that. So it's going to be really, really expensive, because especially for the taxes and customs here in Europe. So it's still easier to order that from us. But from what I see from the sales, still most of the people tend to buy just naked guitar, which is totally fine too, because it's said like even this whole banjo tuning stuff, even this 2 tuning systems, not all the 6 strings, but just 2 strings, you already have to convert your whole musical world into something else. For example, playing exclusively in alto tunings or playing in low tunings. So it kind of really brings you pretty far already from what we learn as guitar players, riffs, or like songs in standard tuning. Is basically not really applicable in standard tunings. So, you can find a way, of course, around it, but I wouldn't. I don't use it in standard tuning. You want to go lower, you want to save strings, you want to use open tunings and stuff, and this is like totally different world that you have to explore. And it means that basically I guess that some of those people who might just get the naked guitar, afterwards they can order the systems from us later, whenever they feel like they're ready for it, which is also cool.